Welcome to the 2021 USDGC presented by Innova. I'm Andrew Duvall, and I help lead the course design team out here at Winthrop Gold, and I'm here to walk you through the 2021 course layout. Hole 1 at the USDGC goes back to its most well-known position. Players will just try to keep something straight between the trees here with a putter or a mid-range most likely, and they'll just let it nestle up to the basket. There's really two main changes to note. The pin is pushed further back than it was in past positions, and the second is this down log in the middle of the gap. Players will need to keep it in the air long enough to fly over that. The first throw at USDGC is already pressure packed, so we've always tried to make hole 1 as welcoming as we can while being fit for a major. On to hole 2. This is an important hole mainly for the wooded flavor it adds to the course. The back 9 plays more open, so it's great to have traditional wooded holes early on. There aren't any real major changes this year to hole 2. This is one of the easier par 4s on the course. I believe everyone in the field is thinking they're going to birdie this hole. The first shot is really about getting out of the gap. How do you beat the low ceiling? I think you're going to see lots of amazing rollers and really punched air shots. That sets up the second shot into the green. If you're on the left side of the fairway, you'll navigate over the OB gravel, swinging it left to right. And if you find yourself on the right side, you'll play in between the trees to get to the basket. The green can be dangerous if you don't commit to your shot, but all in all, this is a very, very gettable birdie for most of the field. Hole 3 might be the only unaltered hole left from the original design at Winthrop. Here we really see the first significant elevation change on the course. The distance isn't an issue for anyone at this level. The challenge really becomes touch and your ability to read the wind sometimes. We usually see putters or mids thrown straight at the basket or sweeping left to right shots with drivers. The only major change this year is the OB wraps more on the right side just to keep sweeping shots more honest. Hole 4 here at Winthrop is another hole that adds crucial wooded flavor. It, along with its counter, hole 15, are two very unique par 4s compared to others on the course. Hole 4 is a true two-shot hole that takes a dramatic right turn at the midway point. Placement here is really everything. There's no bullying the hole with power, and that's not to say that getting further up the fairway isn't beneficial, but no matter what, you're gonna have to throw two really good wooded shots to get close to the pin. The hole finishes with as pretty of a green as we have out here at Winthrop, in kind of this wooded cathedral, the basket surrounded by the Leland cypresses. I think anyone who walks away with a birdie here is feeling really good. Of course, we think all the holes are signatures out here, but hole 5 is really one of the ones that comes to mind when people think of the USDGC. Sometimes it seems like the higher the par, the harder it is to design a hole well. And I think that's one of the great things about hole 5 is that it really captures what makes a par 5 great. It's beautiful. It's got all kinds of scoring potential. It can be eagled with gutsy throws. There's lots of strategies, lots of different ways to play it to find success here. You're going to see lots of left to right shots, trying to get in position to go over the water safely, usually on the third shot. For those of you new to Winthrop, there's a late mandatory that forces players to throw over the water into the green. It's one of the first early mental battles at USDGC that can really make or break your round. Hole 6 at the USDGC. This is commonly referred to as the beach hole. It's a very reachable par 3. The ceiling is low and you need a skip to get onto the beach, so you'll usually see players grab a fairway or a distance driver to accomplish that late skip. If you go OB left or right, there is a drop zone about 45 feet away with a death putt right at the water. On to hole 7 at USDGC. It features the bamboo wall, and there's really a lot of ways to find success here. No one way to do it. I think the main thing here is just committing to whatever shot you decide. As we all know, bad things can happen when you're unsure of what you want to do in the middle of your backswing. But for those who can commit and throw the shot they want to throw, you're going to see lots of birdies and at worst pars. Hole 8 at Winthrop is another important wooded par 4. We tend to find that the first 7 holes of USDGC are the easier section of the course, and hole 8 really starts to turn the dial up for how the rest of the round's going to go. Players are really deciding how much they want to bite off the tee shot as this OB left rough extends further and further into the fairway. Placement is really important here because the gap into this low ceiling wooded tunnel is very tight, and the pin sits on the hillside beyond this last bush, so you're kind of wanting your roller or your air shot to flare or skip towards the pin. 8 usually averages around a par, so getting a birdie here is usually getting a stroke on the field. Hole 9 is by far the biggest change this year. It's now a 3 instead of a 4 to help the crowd move between holes 8 and 9. We're running an experiment with driving post, a new obstacle, to see if we can create gaps and shot shaping on open holes. The green is tight, so if you go OB, there is a chance to save par from a drop zone 50 feet away. Hole 10 brought us one of the best highlights last year, where Calvin parked it for an eagle in a monsoon. It's definitely one of the easiest holes on the course. It's designed to be an eagleable par 4. There are teeth if you get careless, but for the most part, the biggest changes here are a tighter green, and the left side of the fairway has been pulled closer to the trees. This is a hole to continue a hot round or get back on track. Hole 11 at USDGC begins a tough stretch of the course. It's a big open par 4 that features rolling hills and a sloped green. It is hazards, which encourages more aggressive play. If you go into any of these roped areas, you get to play from where you lie. Landing the disc here is more difficult. Fairway run-ups are more difficult. Rollaways can happen. The USDGC is playing to the second pin location. This is the kind of hole where if you get a par, you feel good, and a birdie's great. Hole 12 is another par 4 that features a massive elevation change. This is where you're going to see the furthest drives on the course. It is different from last year. It was hazard, and now it's OB with the drop zone. The drop zone's pretty dangerous. It's about 325 from the pin, and it is tough to gauge distance in the valley between the hills. The green is also underestimated. It has a very dangerous drop off on the right side. This is a hole that requires really good distance and pinpoint accuracy. Hole 13 at Winthrop is the second par 5 out here. There are no major changes this year. Players get to go as big as they like off the tee, as long as they're avoiding the pinching OB on the right side of the path. The second shot's the big one here, whether you want to try to get to the island in 2 or play around the cedar for a birdie at best. There's 2 pin positions here. The long gets a lot of birdies, not a lot of eagles, and the short is where Nico's world famous albatross happened. Hole 14 is a downhill par 3. There's no major changes this year. The left side of the path is hazard except for the green, and the green's kind of the main design feature here. It's very sloped and the basket's elevated. It is very dangerous. Anything that hits the top or hits the cage has high rollaway potential. It's very scoreable though. The only thing that can happen here is running a putt that you probably shouldn't have. If you remember hole 4 from earlier, 15 pretty much does all the same things in the opposite direction. It's a little bit longer of a 2-shot par 4, and instead of making a major right turn at the midway point, it makes a left turn. Off the tee, you have to navigate this triple mandatory. And it's not just about getting through the triple mandatory. You have to get through and push through far enough to get around this corner. This sets up your second shot, which is maybe the most important approach shot on the course, because this green is as tough as it gets. At Winthrop, this is absolutely the toughest place to putt. You want to be on the left side. The right side is absolute jail. It's very unique. It's very pretty, but you can lose 2 or 3 strokes very fast inside this green. Hole 16 is the last chance to get your breath and find yourself before going into the 1-2 punch combo to finish the USDGC. You're essentially deciding, do you want to stay straight ahead and play the inside right side fairway, or throw a left to right swinging shot? There is hazard, but this is definitely one of the easier par 3s on the course, and a chance to get a birdie before going into the last 2 holes. No major changes this year. Hole 17, a 250-foot downhill island hole, is the absolute defining moment at the USDGC. Nowhere else on the course is the crowd and the players and the staff and the media as connected as they are here. This is everything you've worked for. This is calming yourself. This is finding a way to put that disc on the island to put yourself in a position to win the championship. Hole 18 is the second half of the 1-2 combo finish at USDGC. If you survive 17, you still have to contend with a daunting par 4 with danger on both sides and a sloped fairway. The first shot here is deciding how much you want to bite off to make the second shot either easier or harder. The second shot, no matter what, is going to be thrown on a sloped surface, which is very hard to do. You'll see a lot of shots come out early into this woods on the left, OB. The green is sloping towards the water and has an elevated basket. The approach is so important here. You can be left with a downhill death putt or a sheer uphill putt if you're not careful. It's one of the highest pressure greens on the course that gets more so every day. There's really no lead that's safe until the disc is in 18's basket on Championship Saturday. Thanks for checking out the 2021 USDGC course layout. We're very excited to see everyone again. We really missed you last year, and looking forward to an exciting week.